Is Micheal Chandler the key to getting a title shot or a shot at the BMF belt? Well, let's talk about it. So essentially, this only works if you beat him. The reason why I say this is Tony Ferguson lost to him and Daniel Hooker lost to him, and they didn't get any title shot or any BMF shot. However, though, let's start off with Charles. Him and Chandler fights. Micheal Chandler almost TKOs him in the first round, but Charles beats him in the second round and TKOs him. That becomes Micheal Chandler's biggest letdown of his career. And it's like, wow, you almost won the belt in the first round and you just came up short. Then, in his second fight with Justin Gaethje beats him via decision, and Justin Gaethje gets a title shot with Charles, and Charles beats him. So that's the thing. We're seeing a pattern right now. If you beat him, you get the title shot. Then in his third fight, he beats Tony Ferguson. Then that's whatever, because Tony Ferguson was low-key just like going downhill from that point after fighting Justin Gaethje. Then after that fight with Justin, and then that fight with Tony Ferguson, he fights Dustin. Him and Dustin fights in 2022. He gets submitted in the third round. Then Dustin gets a BMF shot against Justin Gaethje. He loses via, I think, knockout, leg kick. Then after that, Micheal Chandler takes 2 years. He takes 2 years off. Take 2 years off waiting for Conor McGregor, who was essentially never going to come back. And I don't know why he's still waiting. But I guess they're going to be fighting at the UFC White House, which I think is still going to be a fun fight. But enough about Conor McGregor. He comes back in November. He fights Charles. He loses via decision this time. Not TKO, but decision. Made one of those holy shit moments in the last round. Almost scared a lot of Charles fans in the last round because of that ground and pound. But yeah, he loses to a decision. And then Charles gets a title shot against Ilya for the vacated belt. So they fight. Charles loses via knockout, and it's unfortunate. Then Micheal Chandler waits till next year and fights in April. He fights against Paddy Pimblet. Him and Paddy Pimblet fight, and Micheal Chandler loses in the third round. He loses via TKO, and it's unfortunate, but it's whatever. Then Paddy Pimblet gets a title shot with Justin Gaethje. So that's interesting. So if you can see this pattern, it makes you wonder, like, hey, it brings up the question, was he a title eliminator or a gatekeeper or a journeyman? So we're going to figure it out, like, right now. So let's get the first thing out of the way. Is Chandler a journeyman? I would say yes and no, because he only fights the top elite fighters like Charles Olivera, Justin Gaethje, Dustin, and a washed Tony Ferguson and Dan Hooker. I mean, that's pretty much like the most, I wouldn't say most dangerous, but one of a few of them is like one of the most elite fighters. But it's not saying that he's not a journeyman, it's just that he's a journeyman of fighting only the top dogs. But if you ask me on outsider, it's like a journeyman is like people like Kevin Holland. And Chandler doesn't really fight as much people as we expect. He only fights the top dogs. So is he a journeyman? I would say no, because it's not enough experience to be considered a journeyman. I mean, he is a title challenger, which leads to the next question, or the next thing is like, is Chandler a gatekeeper? I would personally say yeah. He's someone who's tough, but not quite at the champion level. But he kind of tests if you are or not. You know, he tests as if you are a contender or not. Because if you beat Chandler, you get a title shot. Basically, that's where the conversation is leading. He basically dictates if you're good or not. If you can't beat him, you're trash. You're buns. Like, there's a door. Like, you're going down the division. You're going down the rankings, because he's basically that guy that separates true contenders and just journeyman, and if you're good or not. That's basically who he is. Like, he's kind of like, a lot of people say he's not elite, but I would still consider him elite. After his loss with Patty, it doesn't mean that he's buns. He's just a gatekeeper. That's pretty much it. But here's a third option. Is he a title eliminator? This could also get a little gray, because everyone who does beat him apparently gets apparently you get a belt. Either it's a BMF belt or title or a vacated belt. So I think that's a little in the conversation of him being a title eliminator, because you kind of get a title shot. I mean, look at Charles. He fought him for the vacated belt. Then he fight Charles again, and after he loses, I think Charles fights Ilya and loses. And was it Justin Gaethje? Justin Gaethje beats him, and he gets a title shot with Charles. He loses. And he fights Dustin, he loses, and Dustin fights Justin Gaethje for the BMF belt. So it's in the conversation of, hey, he's low-key a title eliminator. Like, you get some type of belt. So it proves that he's a title eliminator and he's a gatekeeper at the same time. But his most recent fight, which is kind of confusing, is Paddy Pimblet. He loses to Paddy Pimblet, and then Paddy Pimblet sits out for a little bit, waiting for Ilya to come back. Ilya has to walk out, and then Justin Gaethje is like, hey, if I don't get the title shot, I'm a quit. So Charles, oh wait, not Charles. I meant so Ilya, well, not Ilya, my bad. I meant so Justin Gaethje and Charles. I meant Justin Gaethje and Paddy Pimblet. They're gonna be fighting for the vacated belt. So it's basically, well, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Is he a gatekeeper or a title eliminator, or is he both? He could be both. I would say he's both. Because you beat him, you get a title shot. You lose, you're buns. So essentially, he's the top. He's a gatekeeper who dictates if you're a good fighter, if you're in the conversation for someone who's good. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. I personally think that he's a great fighter. He's the most entertaining lightweight, and he's still elite, but he's kind of old. It's not as best as he used to be before, and I personally think he could have beat Paddy Pimblet in his prime days, but the dude's 40, and I mean, he's old. Kind of makes me sad, because he's my favorite fighter. So, anyways, let me know what you guys think. If Micheal Chandler is a gatekeeper, title eliminator, or journeyman, and just comment, or whatever you want to do. DM me on Instagram. I like talking about the UFC or anything related to MMA. And yeah, I'm gonna end the video, and see you guys later.